joining us now. Why don't we take a look at our bracket and find out what's happened so far today on Top 8 Sunday here at the World Championship. We've had a lot of action, Monty.
We really have. We did see the top half of the bracket, the terrifying one with 3 previous world champions, and Fam, the Canadian, the lone Canadian, falling to Javier Domínguez. Then our Player of the Year showdown there in the semifinals, where Javier Domínguez, after being down 0-2, was able to bring it back against Seth Manfield to secure his spot in the finals, as well as the title of Player of the Year. On the other side of the bracket, Quintanole's undefeated mono red deck just tore through Max Rappaport, while Márcio Carvalho did beat Yoshiko Ikawa. And in that really epic showdown that we saw in the semifinals, it was Márcio, who I think is just getting there through sheer determination and will, just refuses to not get another World Championship Finals appearance. And we're here.
We are here indeed. It's time to set up our finals here at World Championship 30. Like I mentioned, $100,000 on the line for the winner, that amazing trophy, and the excuse of calling yourself the best in the world. Javier Domínguez up against Márcio Carvalho. Demir Demons versus Golgari Midrange. Javier Domínguez, your 2018 world champion, your current 2024 Player of the Year as well, versus Márcio Carvalho. Let's take a look at Javier Domínguez's road here to the top 8. Went 5-2 on day 1, 3-0 draft on day 2, and locked up his spot in the top 8 in round 13 versus Eli Cassis. On the other side of things, we have Márcio Carvalho, who is hungry for a win. 2-time world champion, runner-up in 2016 and 2020, is sick of losing in the finals. Will the third time be the charm for Márcio? We're about to find out. After his big win last round, emotions were running high for Márcio, absolutely. Check this out here. Here's teammate, team captain of Team Worldly Council, Willie Adel here, giving Márcio a pep talk and a hug, saying, hey man, this is your 3rd time in the finals. You can do it. And look at that look on Márcio's face. He knows the 3rd time here, he's got to convert, and he wants it so very, very badly. Those are our players. Talk to me about the decks in our finals, Monty.
Well, Maria, we are going to once again begin by looking at Javier's build of Demir Demons. This is the deck that Team Handshake Ultimate Guard did bring to the tournament. A different take on the Demir midrange that we are seeing, trying to utilize and maximize the power of Unholy Annex, but also trying to give themselves a bit of an edge when it comes to going over top. We saw it was so crucial against Seth's ramp deck for Javier to have access to the milling power that Doomsday Excruciator as well as Jace the Perfected Mind do provide. And it is going to be those cards that have to help Javier again, as this is yet another grindy Golgari matchup ahead of him. On the other side, we see Márcio bringing Golgari midrange, the battle of the sub 50% performers in the tournament, but when you're the best, it really doesn't matter. This deck is pure card advantage. 4 Caustic Bronco, 4 Mosswood Dread Knight, 2 copies of Glissa, the MVP, and again, Unholy Annex. This is the most impactful card from Duskmourn, and quickly becoming the card of the tournament, seeing it in both decks here in the finals alongside Arch Team of the Dross. This is going to be potentially an all-time matchup, and we've seen Márcio get the job done previously against Demir Demons, but it really does feel like ultimately it can go either way.
All right, well, if it can go either way, I've got to ask you the big question. Both of you, Monty, who are you picking here in the finals?
Maria, as much as I love Javi, I have been watching Team Handshake practice for tournament after tournament. For me, I think at this point, Márcio's grit and determination are just not going to be impeded. I'm going to go with Márcio Carvalho.
On sheer will alone.
Just sheer will.
What about you, Cedric? Who's going to win?
This is super close for me. There's a part of me that wants to see Márcio win just because I don't want him to see it lose. I don't want to see him lose the 3rd finals. I know he doesn't want to see himself lose the 3rd finals. It's very, very difficult for me to pick against Javier Domínguez, given the resume of this year being Player of the Year and what we've seen over the past handful of years. The big difference here for me is Javier's been here before and won it before. Márcio obviously has been here before and lost in the finals, but also Javier's lost in the finals too.
That is true.
Once to William Jensen. So these players know the situation quite well. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch these two players play, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with our new player of the year in Javier Domínguez to squeak this one out. I would be shocked if it doesn't go 5 games.
Yeah, me too.
I would be shocked.
Me too. All right, will it be Javier Domínguez with his second World Championship title, or will it be third time's the charm for Márcio Carvalho? It's time for the finals here at World Championship 30.
Yes, thank you, Maria. Welcome back to the booth here at the Magic the Gathering World Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. This is a big timer. This is somehow each of these players' third trip to the finals of a World Championship. That is an amazing accomplishment in and of itself. So far, Márcio has not been able to claim the title. As we talked about at the news desk there, it was 2016 Brian Braunduin who ended up winning, and then a few years later, it was Paulo Vitor Damarosa in 2020 who beat him. That's 2 second-place finishes. For such a competitive player as Márcio is, and what I mean is competitive person, like his personality is built like that. He is going to want this more than anything. A little bit of fire on the other side of the table, though, from Javier Domínguez as well. He's also been here 3 times as of today. He was not able to win it in 2017, but he was in 2018. William Jensen, of course, defeating him in 2017. So Javier is playing to become the second player ever to win 2 World Championships. Jahar Shanhar, thus far, is the only one who's ever been able to do that. He did it back-to-back.
What epic matchup here between the two of these. These are friends.
Who says no?
They were former teammates. And I believe, I don't know if it was Javier or Márcio, but one of them kind of predicted or hoped that this was the finals matchup. And here they are right now. 3rd World Championship final. Now, as accomplished as a player as Márcio is, he has never won a Pro Tour or a World Championship. This is his opportunity.
It's a weird thing about our game. You know, we measure things in terms of top 8s, generally speaking. And that's a fair measurement, right? That shows consistent performance over time. But don't get it twisted. Everybody that signs up for one of these tournaments, everybody that qualifies for these, they want to win. It's the whole point. It's why you're here. And somehow you can go an amazing, I mean, Márcio has an unbelievable career without actually winning.
And people dream of having the resume that Márcio Carvalho has. It's absolutely incredible. He's kind of done everything outside of just taking one home.
That's right. He's done in all eras since he started playing. He's done things online. He's done things in real life. He loves limited, but he's a world-class constructed player. And it looks like we're already underway here. There is duress. Matchup-wise, Paul, we've got Dimir Demons versus Golgari mid-range, but if I were to zoom out a little bit, these are 2 black-based mid-range decks, ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately. So I think you're going to see, I know they're slightly different, but I think you're going to see a lot of similarities between the match that we saw with Javier Domínguez against Seth Manfield. It's just kind of a mid-range mirror, both sides having access to a lot of removal, and both sides going to lean on whatever card advantage engine that they have to kind of pull ahead. So for Javier's side, we're looking at cards like Jace and the Unholy Annex. And for Márcio's side, a lot of them. Mosswood Dread Knight, Caustic Bronco, if any of those threats stick, that's great, along with 3 copies of Unholy Annex himself.
Mosswood Dread Knight has been an absolute beater. Every time it's on camera, it's had a massive impact on the game, and we see it right away.
Yeah, we'll note, though, that Javier's list does play 3 copies of Anoint with Affliction main, which is a nice, clean answer to the Dread Knight.
Does he have it?
No, he does not feel good about this. This is a go for the throat.
Wow, they're really just talking it up.
Again, they may not be on the same team now, but these are former teammates, buddies. They've played countless times together and tested together, so.
Yeah, don't let their, I mean, we get a little joy of the game. They're having fun with it, but make no mistake, we've got two assassins at the table here. They want this more than anything.
But completely different vibe than the Javier versus Seth Manfield matchup, where they were also playing for Player of the Year and
Right.
maybe not as close. So both players here with their card advantage kind of engine online here. Javier with the turn 3 Unholy Annex into Archfiend. We'll get to gain some life here. And Márcio does have the answer. Go for the throat in hand.
Yeah, Marcio's really showing off the Mosswood Dread Knight here. I mean, that's all he's done this game. Duress and then Dread Knight, Dread Whispers, Dread Knight. It just keeps coming back.
This is going to miss.
Really?
Javier's really good at drawing lands after casting Unholy Annex.
I was going to say, is this a good thing or a bad thing for Javier? You miss, but it also means I have nothing.
Right. He does have some of those utility lands, right? So you do have the Excruciator, has the ability to still... That's the thing about the Annex. It just kind of does everything for you in one card.
Yep.
In a mid-range matchup, just playing it turn 3 is great, but then if you just run out of things to do, you can still make that Demon on turn 5.
Okay.
There's go for the Archfiend and 3 damage coming in. This is why we saw that go for the throat on the Mosswood Dread Knight earlier, is that life total is really important for Javier with the Annex going.
Now,
Go ahead.
Now, Márcio does have a couple of Anoint with Afflictions, which is still not a dead card in this matchup, because it's still a clean answer to the 6/6 Demon token that you would get off the Ritual Chamber.
Yeah. And as you can see, Márcio has deftly left up his 2 mana there to be able to take care of it if that were to be the play from Javier. And he doesn't have much else going on. His only other option is to play the Fountain Port and start using that.
But Javier will be able to keep drawing cards here. Unholy Annex is still in play, even if your Demon does get killed here. And Márcio just has the Dread Knight here as the threat. Does have the Fountain Port, which you can slowly start using to churn out some 1/1s, but his hand is just 3 lands and 3 removal spells right now. Jace would be an amazing draw here for Javier. Just neutralizing the Mosswood Dread Knight, building up the counters, building up the loyalty rather, and then you can just slam the Excruciator for the combo kill.
Javier's going to make the kind of face-up obvious play, but he knows that Demon's not long for this world, as there's so many cards in hand for Márcio. One of them could kill it, and it did. Anoint with Affliction's going to send it away.
Márcio would love to find any decent threat here.
Yeah, he's applying pressure with the Mosswood Dread Knight, but he could use just a little bit more. That was an Archfiend of the Dross off the top of the library there for Javier.
Yeah, but Javier needs removal or play. The thing is, Márcio at least still has 2 removal spells here, so he still has answers to a Demon, 1 Demon, and then also has access to removal for another Demon token here too. So he's gonna... And Márcio can do both. He can use Go for the Throat and make a 1/1 here. Javier will go down to 10.
To 14. I go to 13.
Oh,
I made a
interesting.
fish. 13, I draw a card, okay?
He decided to make a fish and allow the drain to happen.
Interesting.
Slightly more mana efficient there for Carvalho.
Oh, doesn't have Go for the Throat. Okay, well that makes a lot more sense.
Oh, he just doesn't have Go
He just
for the
doesn't
Throat.
have one. Okay. I was like, why wouldn't you kill a 6/6?
Yeah, I tried with the mana efficient thing, but
Right.
wow, this is great news for Javier Domínguez because it means with no answer for Archfiend.
Márcio just needs more action here, so just going, hey, I'm going to attack you just so I can draw a card here off the Dread Knight.
He actually would prefer for it to die. And of course,
Right.
the alternate isn't the worst. He still gets in for 3.
So 11, 14,
Javier is going to oblige.
10, 14.
Did you actually take 2 damage when the Dread Knight gets exiled with the Archfiend?
Oh, good question. It probably has to go to the graveyard.
Or does it just get exiled immediately?
Right. Let me double check. It says when it dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventurer until the... So it actually does go to the
Oh,
graveyard.
it does die. Okay.
Yeah. People always set it aside.
Lando, huh?
But, wow, lots of lands there for Márcio. Yeah, not having that Go for the Throat ended up being the end of him in game number 1, and that is going to Javier Domínguez.
to
Weird.
2, and then the
It doesn't
yeah, these are all the-
normally
I
go
just know
like
the
that,
cards,
where they
so
like
thank you.
exchange some resources, and then
One
Javier
to
just
before. I
goes,
do
here's
annex
one
to
last
2,
demon,
minimum free roll. Doesn't
and then
matter.
it's over. But it is such a quick claw.
And that's just the power of the annex, right? Oftentimes you just see it, oh, it's just going to draw you some cards,
so?
but at any point,
would say
if
so,
a
yeah.
demon lives, the game just ends.
Right. It's just so rare that it actually does in these black-based matchups,
Right.
but it did.
It did.
That's exactly what happened.
Marcio did not have the appropriate removal spell. That's, you know, with the Anoint with Affliction, kills the tokens, but not the Archfiend of the Dross.
Wow. I got to say, if I'm Javier, I'm feeling really happy about picking up that win. That was one of those ones that he didn't have to go 17 turns deep in the tank, find the right top deck. He just kind of played his cards, and it was like, you don't have it?
Yeah.
Okay, hit you for 8, hit you for 8, GG, and that's exactly what happened.
He used a lot of mental energy in that last match against Seth Manfield, but that one was fairly straightforward here. But of course, given that he pulled off that reverse sweep against Seth Manfield, being up 1-0 here, it's nice, but it's not close to over.
No, not at all. And, you know, it is interesting for the players at this level. You have to kind of manage your emotions. It can feel, one of the worst things that you can do is feel relieved before the tournament's over. I can tell you, after having covered GPs for all those years, I saw so many people make it to the top 8 and get so excited that by the time they got there, they had something that you really, really don't want as a Magic player, which is just happy to be here syndrome. Right. You don't want it.
Yeah, and especially because you saw the way Javier celebrated after that very emotional win over Seth Manfield, locking Player of the Year. But the thing with Javier, he's been here before. He's done it a ton of times. He's Pro Tour champion, world champion.
I'm sure he got himself
ready to go.
calmed down and ready to go right after that. Because it is hard. I mean, of course you're going to celebrate, right? Like, you just won Player of the Year. You just made your 3rd World Championship Finals ever. You have a shot to win the thing again. You could be the first player to win twice, or the second player to win twice, excuse me. I mean, I'd celebrate too.
Having your face on 2 Magic cards is going to be something.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Are you kidding me?
He's going to make some Modern deck with a Fervent Champion and whatever else it could be.
Oh.
He's probably going to make a request
incredible.
to make another red legendary creature, right? Or a red creature, rather.
He has to.
Yeah, you have to. You have
can't
to
go
in
a
the same
different
deck.
direction. They need to play well together.
Right.
Didn't even think about that. I'm sure he is. Like, low-key, that's one of the best things about winning the World Championship. I mean, 100 grand for the winner, not the worst thing ever. Big old trophy, not the worst thing ever, but becoming a Magic card?
Oh, great hand here. Marcio with the duress here. Might just take the Unholy Annex. We just saw how powerful that card was in the matchup. Unless he's interested in taking the Go for the Throat and try to pull ahead with the Caustic Bronco that he can play next turn. So both good options. Maybe just take the Go for the Throat and just try to get some advantages here with that Bronco. Has the Anoint with Affliction, doesn't deal with the Archfiend of the Dross. So Javier, if he strings together some lands, can go turn 3 Annex into turn 4 Archfiend, which Marcio doesn't currently have an answer for. So tough choice between those two.
Important early decision here in game number 2.
Yeah, I like this. Every resource matters, and if that Bronco gets maybe 2 attacks in, that's so big here for Marcio.
Right, especially at this early stage of the game where he's trying to make sure mana is under him, trying to find those key card draw engines. Right now, the hand's a little disheveled.
And he finds a Go for the Throat, which is really nice. Does give him an answer to the Archfiend of the Dross. Javier
Javier find an answer.
He wanted to remove it, and he found it.
Got Anoint with Affliction.
Wow. A little light on lands here, though. And Javier can, of course, wait because Marcio doesn't have counter magic. And Marcio grimaces.
He smiled. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
come on. Can't duress the top of the
Oh,
library.
and Javier finds land number 3 here. So he can just slam the Unholy Annex or go Duress plus Fairy Mastermind. What a string of draws. Removal spell into not missing a land drop.
Incredible for Javier Domínguez. This is the beginning of winning a world championship. A quick game 1. And now things starting to come together for him in game 2.
Anoint.
We are early.
Demon, demon, right?
Archfiend, Anoint is the hand now.
So now running out of
Oh,
Mastermind
yeah.
is not ideal just because you know about the Anoint. I wonder if you just go Duress and just get the other removal spell out of the hand.
Yeah,
Still the anoint.
and take the Anoint. So double Archfiend.
So now can Márcio find an untapped
A
land?
land would be
I
really
would say this is an
nice.
important draw step.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Márcio?
Let's see if he hits it. Javier says this is an important draw step. Do you agree, Márcio? Márcio shakes his head, and it's another Caustic Bronco.
Now, Javier also needs an untapped land. Can he find it? He does not.
He doesn't,
Oh,
so
this is
he
big.
is going to play the Annex and start digging, but the Bronco gets to do the same.
And another untapped land here would be great because you can saddle up the Bronco.
And it is an untapped land, and he
Yes.
windmill slams
Yes.
the Archfiend onto the battlefield. Saddle up
Unholy
the
Annex?
Bronco.
16, 14.
That was big, a big
Huge.
sequence of draws here for Márcio.
Okay, there's land number 4 now for Javier Domínguez, so he has
Okay.
his own copy of Archfiend.
Yes.
Márcio currently doesn't have a way to kill it. Does have his own Archfiend. Can he find a go for the throat here?
Drain you for 2. No,
Doesn't find it.
he found a land. So now what?
A couple of things. You can either play another Archfiend, saddle up, or maybe you just draw a card with the Mosswood Dread Knight just to try to find an answer. Or maybe you're also happy just trading a Bronco for a
18,
card.
16, yes.
You just send it in,
Right, just to
and
try
if
to
you hit
find
the
a
go
removal.
for the throw, you're
Ooh, that's
real happy
big,
there.
Right.
Then you kind of get it all.
But the first thing you could do is just draw a card off this Dread Knight here and see if you just naturally find one.
Right.
But you're putting less power and toughness on the battlefield because the other option is just slamming another Archfiend on the dross.
Uh-huh.
He does. I don't believe he has Terrace Undermain, so just go for the throat. That's kind of his best answer. Oh, and looking
He's
like
going big, and he is going to get in there as well.
he
It
wanted
just
to-
ended up being a land, so no damage. And this means that the Archfiend gets to just eat the Caustic Bronco.
Right.
But 6 damage gets across.
Absolutely, and remember, Márcio does have that Restless Cottage in play too. Javier does need to be mindful of his life total here.
But he's got the Annex plus a demon. This will
does.
be the second turn in a row.
And he has another demon here. He's got another Archfiend of the Dross that he can play here. The alternative is just shoot the Sheriff plus Fairy Mastermind
Also
as
fine.
a maybe chump blocker.
Does he attack?
Oh, I don't think he attacks.
It's 2-turn clock.
I don't know. I don't know about the
All
attack.
right,
The
all
thing
right.
is,
I'll
he's the
calm
one
down.
who's drawing a card every
Yeah,
turn.
yeah.
So he just wants to stabilize the board here.
Okay, I got a little excited.
He could.
I mean, this turn cycle, it works. But if it falls apart after that, I think he would regret it.
If Márcio draws a cut down
Right.
and activates the land, and then Javier tries to chump block with the Fairy Mastermind, it's just going to all get
It
ruined.
could fall apart very.
Remember, with 2 Archfiends on the on Márcio's side of the battlefield, if he kills something, Javier takes 4.
Oh yeah, that too. that too. Yeah, I like that about the Annex. It kind of turns it into a mini game where it's like, I'm ahead and I'd like to just maintain, and I'll use the tools that I have to do that. Okay, shoot the Sheriff is going to kill
I think you
one
have
of
to tackle
them.
now, okay? Something is very easy.
Javier could draw another removal spell here off the Annex. A drain here ties things up at 12 here. Ooh, ooh.
It's 14-10, yes? Yes.
Javier.
One mistake.
Easy.
Basically, I think if Márcio top decks a cut down, then I think he might be able to win here. So
He
Javier
has
goes
an
to
untapped
12
land.
because he has an untapped land in his hand.
Okay.
Right, so then he can
Left
attack
drain
for
every
10,
yes.
bring Javier down to 2. Javier's going to run out the Fairy Mastermind. You just cut that down,
That's 2
and then
damage.
that's lethal.
Yeah.
But Márcio has to top that cut down.
Wow, he did attack. What does Márcio find?
It's an Anoint.
An Anoint with Affliction.
It's not quite
That
enough.
does not work well with Archfiend of the Draws.
Right, and it's a 2-mana spell here.
It does get him through for the damage, but no trigger.
Yeah, this is so close here for Márcio. Now Márcio, I don't think now that Márcio doesn't have lethal, I think he can attack. Right? He cannot attack. He might need to draw a card here with the Dread Knight.
Man, Javier pressing his advantage, and it might actually work out for him.
Feels like that's the only option here, given the life totals. Try to find a way to kill the Archfiend here. Because let's say you find Go for the Throat, what's Javier going to do? Might just try to unlock the room, and then you have the Anoint with Affliction for that too.
Yeah, he's got that part covered.
She was like, is there any way you can take 12 here? I just
So
don't
much
see it.
pressure from Javier Domínguez.
Right.
Even though he has the long game in a good situation, he's decided to just press his advantage, and it's put Márcio in a very difficult position.
And I don't know if this is going to happen, but Márcio also has 2 counters on the Archfiend. If the game kind of goes for 2 more turns, that thing doesn't die, he dies.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen. They just kill their own or something
Right.
happens, right? Okay, here's
Anoint.
Anoint, so that's going to get exiled, no trigger.
Can he find a Go for the Throat here? 5. Has the land. What is that? Was that another Anoint? No, he's an Archfiend.
He's an Archfiend.
So now he has to pass. Now, if Javier just top decks a removal spell here.
Yeah, he just wins.
On 5, right?
He did not. He found a swamp. There's another Archfiend. This is down to 2. That's at 4.
Right. If you attack, the trade happens.
And that's for both. So that
You
leaves
take
Márcio
4.
at 1.
1, and then the land.
Because of the second
triggers.
one. That's right. So that's 4 down to 1. And then a trigger from the Annex means Javier Domínguez is up 2 games to 0. Just like that.
It's gonna just imperfect every time. Pretty much. There's the mana return. Yeah, you do that removal, I do removal, yeah. I'm gonna do the land for the Annex.
Perfect
I do
every
the land
time.
for the
Yeah,
Annex.
pretty much.
I need to do removal on land.
Yeah, but Márcio set himself
You know,
up
we don't
nicely
know.
there with the Bronco, but
It's-
both players just kind of got out of it,
That's
and
what it is.
Márcio really just needed the big removal spells. Archfiend,
Cross
the
road,
draw's just getting in the way there,
Though.
slowing things down here for Márcio.
There's the Márcio Carvalho fan club over there. Adel is there, his sister.
Now we are sideboarding here.
That's right. So the players are going to consult sideboards, and we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, though, we'll be in sideboards and game number 3. Don't go anywhere. Back to coverage here of the Magic the Gathering World Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon, and we are in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's sunny outside, but we got business to take care of here. We're in the finals of our World Championship. We got Márcio Carvalho sitting across from Javier Domínguez, and right now he might wish that he were sitting across from anybody else, because he's down 2-0 is Márcio, and they were pretty quick.
Yeah, Javier now has a commanding lead, but now we get into the sideboard here, and if there's one thing about Golgari mid-range is after, it's one of those, I feel like you're maybe a slight dog against most decks game one, but after sideboard, I feel like you can turn things around. So maybe that's what Márcio's going to need here.
Well, he cast a Caustic Bronco, and it immediately got cut down, so there will be no turnaround, at least on turn 2, but let's continue. Cut down Duress, go for the throat, and a pair of lands with a Sentinel of the Nameless City there for Carvalho.
Yeah, Márcio knows that there's Spell Stutter, only 2 copies in Javier's list, so, but still chooses to play around it here. He can either go Duress or play Sentinel, choosing to go with the Duress here because he doesn't really want Javier to play turn 3 Unholy Annex. And Javier has 2 copies. He has all the best cards. Jace and Unholy Annex are the best cards in this matchup, and he's got 3 copies of those cards in hand here.
Wow, and look at this for Márcio. He's holding 2 removal spells that don't do anything against those cards, and then a Sentinel.
And notably, Márcio also kept Cut Down, which only has 6 targets in the matchup here for the
Interesting.
Fairy Masterminds and 2 Caustic Broncos that Javier Domínguez has. I don't think he has any more creatures in the sideboard either.
Yeah, and I can actually update you on that as well. Javier Domínguez, for his sideboard plan, he took out 2 Caustic Broncos.
Wow.
Yeah. He brought in a cut down. This is for Domínguez. He brought in a cut down and 2 Liliana of the Veil, took out one of the 2 Jaces from the main and the 2 Caustic.
Okay, so doesn't actually feel like he needs the Jace here. Just maybe leaning really heavily into the demons, which has been working out for him, to be fair.
If we're going to use the match so far, that would certainly be the direction you'd want to go.
We'll note that Unholy Annex certainly is not nearly as powerful because Márcio boards in lots of answers. He has multiple copies of Terra Sunder, which I imagine is going to get boarded into this matchup, and who knows how many copies of Tranquil Frillback will also stay in, just to be able to have more disenchant effects for the extremely powerful enchantment.
Yeah, Márcio took out a cut down, the 2 Tranquil Frillback, and a Dreams of Steel and Oil. He brought in 2 Liliana of the Veil.
2 Terra Sunders and the rest, it seems.
Yeah, that's 5 cards, though.
Slow. Tranquilo.
But Márcio, just because of the Spell Stutter, just kind of has to play things slow. You have the Sentinel of the Nameless City as the only threat in your hand, so probably waiting until he hits land number 5 to be able to deploy that as a threat. And Javier also choosing not to play Unholy Annex, keeping up Spell Stutter, aware of the fact that Márcio could have something like a Terra Sunder here. Is that Liliana?
That's interesting.
You guys doing our job for us.
So Liliana on top with your 4 cards.
Land number 4 here for Domínguez.
And Márcio just prioritizing finding mana source number 5 to play around the Spell Stutter that he knows about in Javier's hand. Or maybe he can find another Duress into Sentinel.
Nice.
And he's going to go with Jace here. Go for the throat times 2, and a cut down is not going to get the job done. Though, I do see a cottage up there for Carvalho.
Yeah, so if Javier chooses to draw a card here, then Márcio, if he can find land number 5,
Untapped.
can just attack the Jace with the cottage.
Draw a card, okay?
And, you know, Javier's okay with this because that means Márcio spends his entire turn to get the Jace off the battlefield. Meanwhile, you still got your card.
That's true, and we have seen that happen. Oh, wow, it's just going to be Sentinel of the Nameless City.
No land, but he is going to crack this map right away. It's a land.
Hit 2. Okay, so that was nice for Márcio, but that does mean that Javier gets to untap with Jace.
Right, and he can
And he's
tick.
got answers.
He has tons of removal spells here. He can tick up the Jace here on the Sentinel, but you still kind of don't want the Sentinel to attack because it does make that map token every turn.
Right. So he's just going to actually get another card out of the deal.
Yeah, just Dimir control at this point now. Take a look at Javier's hand here.
Ooh, double go for the throat, anoint, and a spell stutter to hold the fort down?
Right.
He even could afford to play Unholy Annex and leave up any one of those other cards.
Yeah, he can. Now, the one thing, though, is if he does choose to go with the Unholy Annex, the Jace will die.
He's bailing on Jace.
Right.
Okay.
But Jace has already gotten you some value here, right? You've already gotten 2 cards out of the deal.
Yeah, and he's not going to get another one next turn anyway. So he's going to get it now and go
Right.
with the Unholy Annex.
Unholy Annex has just been absolutely incredible here. All Sunday here for Javier.
Absolutely, and you know, this situation's still very good for him because if Márcio says, I want to go to combat, he can just kill the Sentinel, and if Márcio wants to get Jace off the battlefield, he's going to have to use up all of this mana.
Yep, and so this is going to be a dead Jace. I think Javier is going to kill the Sentinel here, just because that actually creates a map token here, probably.
Right, which can become a card sometimes where a food token is, it needs a little help.
And that is the only Jace in Javier's deck, so now the combo is kind of offline. He does have that Excruciator in hand, but I believe there were 2 Jaces main. He boarded one out, so that's the only one in his deck.
See the Unholy Annex getting exiled from the cottage, but it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, but so much action here for Javier.
Totally.
He's at 18 life. He's going to draw. He's drawn at least 2 cards here after the Unholy Annex. Is up 2 cards from the Jace here with a handful of removal spells and demons.
So what is he going for here? He's just going to make
So it's you are 18, I am
the 6/6 flying
20,
demon.
card.
And you know, it's interesting. I've noticed this pattern with Javier's deck where like he'll use a removal spell just to maintain status quo, get another card. He'll use a demon just to get the one trigger on end step that's a drain, even though he knows it's going to die anyway.
Right.
Yet he can still get ahead because he's drawing 2 cards a turn doing this.
The thing at this point now, Javier is just like, hey, I'm just going to play a demon every single turn until you just run out of removal spells, because I'm still just drawing an extra card every single turn here.
Especially that Márcio's tapped out yet again, so he
Right.
once again will just get the extra trigger from the Unholy Annex. It's going to be very difficult for Márcio to race him from this situation,
Right.
getting drained for 4 every turn.
It's such a huge
Wow!
swing. Such a huge swing.
How does Márcio get out of this loop? I mean, he will run out of answers before Javier runs out of threats if he's drawing 2 cards a turn, right?
Right. Maybe it starts with his own Unholy Annex, right? Because Javier's deck is incapable of getting enchantment off the battlefield. So it might start there. This is also a way to kind of get things going.
There's a card draw engine. Or
So
something to prop.
perhaps you can kill Archfiend. Oh, and he drew Unholy Annex. So
Hey.
now, hey, you go for the Throat the Demon, and then you play your own Unholy Annex, and that's kind of, that's how you get back,
He's
right?
doing a Javier Domínguez impression.
And keep in mind, Javier Domínguez, he's been drawing a ton of cards, but he's been missing on his land drops. So
Yes.
Márcio, next turn, can play a 3/2 and make a demon, right? Has access, has the mana advantage at the very least. He's down a ton of cards.
Land would be, oh, there's no land
Still
here
no
for
lands here.
Domínguez. He could have had a triple spell turn if he hit an untapped land.
Right. Still at a ton of life here, though.
This is a very classic situation that you find in Magic. Look at the number of cards in hand for Márcio and look at his lands. And now look at the number of cards in hand for Javier and look at his lands, right? Behind on mana, way ahead on cards, just needs to find land drops to start deploying all of these things. And I think if Javier can do that, he'll be a world champion. If he can't hit these land drops, Márcio actually has a way to climb back in here now.
Yeah, the thing is, if Javier is continuing to be just stuck on 5 lands, if Márcio, he still needs to rip out of this, right? He still needs
Absolutely.
to go, back to back to back good spells. But if he does, he's the one who can play more spells than Javier can in one turn.
He has nothing relevant now as far as removing the opposing demon, but he did find Archfiend. He's going to be mana efficient.
So is this a double demon turn?
It.
Oh, that's a Glissa.
Oh, that's a Glissa, not an Archfiend. Hello.
Okay. And he gets his own Unholy Annex trigger.
Javier has answers for everything, but can he actually deploy them? He did find a land by the way, on the end of his last turn.
Okay.
But it was a reef.
And I do believe he does have the removal.
Oh, Verge 2.
Untapped land is huge here because now you have, what, 2 removal spells here, which is huge. You can attack, and this is getting close to lethal on
getting
Javier's
really
side.
close, Paul. This is Javier doesn't need that much to be able to capitalize on this situation that he finds himself in.
Has a Fairy Mastermind anoint and go for the throat here.
Yeah, and he's just going to stay patient here, make sure he can use up his 4 mana for the turn and just get the 1 drain. Carvalho's at 5.
He does have a couple of food tokens.
Okay.
To not die immediately.
Always forget about the food tokens. Still, that's not a good long-term answer for the situation that Carvalho finds himself in, and he only found a Restless Cottage on top of the library.
Right.
This is Marcio's 3rd trip to a World Championship final, and he looks like he may not convert this one either. Javier Domínguez is getting real close here.
Marcio needs a removal spell.
If he finds a removal spell, then we have a game. It's Anoint with Affliction. That actually does count.
That does work here. Now, Marcio's going to try to attack here. But of course, we know that Javier has the removal spell for the Glissa.
And before combat, kill it. So, shoot the Sheriff, Glissa down.
Anoint Infliction. So you just have to count all the mana here for Marcio because you're going to need to maybe gain some life here as well. You're going to want to kill this demon. Do you have the mana to... You got to think about the mana to sack your food tokens to stay alive. You got to sack at least 1. And then possibly run out 1 of these Dread Knights here. So maybe you play 1 and gain 3 and go to 7 in case Javier does play another demon here.
Yeah.
2. Yes.
Especially because you've only got Cut Down in hand. Although an extra draw coming, it was go for the throat.
Ooh, okay, cut down.
That's going to... He finally found a target for the cut down. Now he's got go for the throat and a food crack available.
He can crack both foods and go up to 6. Excuse me, go up to 8.
If he doesn't need to use
right.
go for the throat. Carvalho kind of puts his hands up like, hey, what do you got?
Yeah, I imagine Javier's going to just run out another demon here, but you're right. He's going to kill this Archfiend before the end step.
Play land for the turn.
Or in the end
Land
step
for the
too.
turn. End step. And he says, hold on a sec. Before we go to end step, I'm going to use go for the throat.
So I take 2.
So Javier will take 2.
And he gets a card.
Marcio's still alive, barely.
This is not over. It's getting there, but it's not over.
He's at 5 now. There's a couple of Dread Knights. He can gain 3 more life. And remember, there's a couple of cottages in play as well here on Marcio's side.
Huh.
But he has no cards. No cards in hand.
He's completely out of cards. Javier Domínguez had a Jace early that he was able to leverage to draw a few extra cards, and he's so far been riding the wave.
Just attacking with cottages just doesn't feel like a big recipe for success here, but it does get some damage through, does create a food token, so maybe you want to activate 1 of them at least.
Domínguez asks how many cards Marcio has. 1.
Javier has a ton of removal here.
Go for the
in.
throat.
Do you want to use that to crack your food? Right, you want to use like every bit of mana probably, right?
Yeah, that's what he's going to do. Up to 8.
Okay.
Now do you just
Hanging in there.
Now you probably just play out both of your Dread Knights here, right? It's not like Javier has a threat here in play.
No. You got to get something going.
Does Javier have another demon? He does. So
Archfiend of...
So he can Archfiend plus Unholy Annex, drain Marcio for 4
That's
here,
half his
and draw
life.
2 cards, and gain 4.
Yeah. Yeah. If he has an untapped land, which he does, he can also duress just to be clear, but at this point, it wouldn't matter anyway. He would make the play that he thinks is best regardless.
Javier has just drawn so many more cards here than Marcio, just able to sculpt the perfect hand despite not drawing those lands, just making sure that his hand has all the answers for Marcio.
Every time I look over at the cards in hand, it's just
right.
There's 4 or 5 for Javier, and Marcio has 1 or 2.
1 cottage. Cottage.
1.
One
He has
cottage.
go for the throat. He's a little bit short here because if he had one more mana, I think he could have gone Archfiend, go for the throat, Unholy Annex, go for the throat, the Mosswood Dread Knight with the Archfiend in play. That would be 6 damage.
Wow. Here's the Archfiend. Yeah, he needed one more. But it may only be another turn.
But still just an excellent position here, right? Márcio going to go down to 2 here.
And he certainly can do Duress plus Annex if that's what he wants to do. There's the Duress. It's going to be just to land. Nothing left here for Carvalho.
Do we Annex or keep up go for the throat?
That's the question. It's an additional card.
Because remember, there's still a Restless Cottage on Márcio's side.
Uh-huh. But Domínguez would be at 22.
Yeah, it's going to be really...
Like, how in the world can Márcio put together any type of clock against that?
I think Márcio's best bet here is just to try to find another removal spell here.
Yeah, he just wants to draw all go for the throats all the time.
Maybe a Liliana.
Okay, so Javier did not unlock the Unholy Annex, so he
Right.
just gets the 1 trigger, but it allows him to keep up, go for the throat. What did Márcio find? Archfiend of the Dross?
And so good job on Javier to not Unholy Annex, because now Márcio will play the Archfiend.
Yes.
But Javier will have the answer with the go for the throat, which would mean Márcio takes an additional 2 damage here.
Yeah, so then all Javier has to do is just pass the turn. Is there any food? Yeah, okay, so there could be
There is food, and Márcio is drawing a card here off the Unholy Annex, so maybe he can find a removal spell here. But remember, Javier has the backup demon here in hand in the Excruciator.
Right. And yeah, 6 cards isn't that many, but it's plenty of turns.
The thing is,
Opponent's 4.
if you attack, Javier blocks, and you still take 2 damage from your creature dying, right?
Yes.
Chose not to attack.
And that's it! Javier Domínguez is a 2-time world champion and a player of the year. Congratulations, Javier.
What an absolutely incredible run here for Javier. Back against the ropes in that semis. 0-2, doesn't matter. Rattles off 3 in a row, and now a clean sweep here against his friend and former teammate, Márcio Carvalho. Unfortunate result for him. He's going to have to wait for yet another World Championship.
He looks shocked.
0 for 3.
3-0 against him this too. That is a tough pill to swallow. Given a little bit of time, he'll be able to look back and recognize the amazing accomplishment there, but that is a tough one. Look at Javier, he cannot believe this.
It's everything, right? He just locked everything up.
Everything.
Second.
He can't believe it, look at him.
Second 2-time world champion. Player of the year.
Big hug from Jesse.
What a finish here.
He played 4 premier level events this year. He didn't finish worse than 10th in any of them, including this win.
That is absolutely absurd. Congratulations, Javier.
A huge round of applause there for Javier Domínguez. Boy, he's really put himself in that conversation, one of the best players ever now.
Oh, absolutely. And you know,
And I'll have to decide what
And I don't have to decide board. Yes, that is one of the many benefits of winning the
just a
tournament.
small thing.
You don't have to decide board. $100,000. Let's see, there's a trophy. You happen to pick up player of the year on the way. 2-time world champ.
I mean, just the heart of a champion. You know, the first time we got to see him in the finals, right? Falling to William Jensen in epic match. And really hard to recover from a loss like that because I believe he made a small misstep in that finals, which cost him the game and the match. But he comes back the following year, wins the World Championship, finds himself with yet another opportunity here, and gets it done.
Big smile, and yeah, you gotta pick it up.
It's heavy.
Paul, you know what that look really nice right next to? His other one.
This one might be a little bigger.
Yeah, he's going to have friends over, and they're going to be like, you get 2 trophies for winning World Championship?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Just incredible. Just
Unbelievable
incredible.
stuff, yeah. Pretty clean victory, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like the games were pretty straightforward from his perspective. There were some very tight spots there where it was like, okay, I got to go one direction or the other, but whichever way he seemed to go, it worked out for him.
Yeah, the thing is, with his deck in particular, he was able to just draw up. He has an extra copy of the Unholy Annex, but he's able to just string together all the demons, and at some point, Márcio just ran out of demons. And the nice thing about Unholy Annex, it just draws you into more demons.
It does.
And eventually, it just exhausts you of all of your resources, and then you can kind of take over. Márcio did sideboard into a lot of ways to deal with the Unholy Annex, but of course, we only saw the one sideboarded game, so didn't have the opportunity to deal with that enchantment.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from the feature match area. That's going to do it for us in the booth. That's Paul Chiana. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Let's go back over to Maria at the news desk.
Thank you so much, you two. What a fantastic finals. Your champion, Javier Domínguez. Mani, your thoughts on that final?
I mean, just incredible stuff. Yeah, he made it look easy there.
He
in
always
the finals,
does.
But we have to remember, 2 hours, 3 hours ago, Javier was down 0-2 against Seth. That was Player of the Year, about to be gone, and then just came back and clawed back and clawed back. And then, you know what? Made it look easy in the end.
Man, Mani, how tough is it to be Player of the Year and World Champion?
I mean, you have to really look at the season Javier has had. He started with a 9th at Pro Tour's Murders at Karlov Manor, then a 10th at Pro Tour Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Already disappointing. Finally makes the top 8 in Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3, and he loses to who else? His teammate, Simon Nielsen, who goes on to win that tournament. So for him to have that year of just near miss into a quarterfinals loss into here, just really unbelievable stuff from Javier.
An utterly fantastic season, and what a way to cap it off. I'm going to pass it on over to Cedric Phillips with the trophy presentation.
Thank you so much, Maria. Boy, this is going to be fun to say. The winner of World Championship 30, Javier Domínguez. I think this is my 4th interview with you this weekend. We've been hanging out a lot. It's a good sign for you. This is an incredible year you've had. We'll get to Player of the Year in a minute. Trust me. 9th in Chicago, 10th in Seattle, top 8 in Amsterdam, win here. What? Your worst finish in a major tournament this year is 10th place. Make sense of this for me? Can you do that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's still like, it's been a wild year. Many things went my way, including from the first PT to this match. Just sometimes cards go your way. So yeah, that's all I can say. Like, just things have been going my way, and I have the support from my friends, my teammates, and they make it easier. You know what I mean?
I mean, you've got an incredible group of people behind you, some of the best to ever play Magic. You're surrounded by your team, Team Handshake. You're surrounded by friends, a ton of people who people can't see at home over here that are excited about your win. You had a very tough opponent in the finals, who you know well, in Márcio, who has come up short, just like you have in the World Championships. We've seen you win this before. Does this one feel better than the last one?
I don't know about better. It's definitely different because the first time you don't really believe you can get there, but the second, well, you probably believe you can never get it again, right? So I will say it's kind of similar in a way. Yeah. I would say they feel different but similar. Yeah.
Different but similar. That's what happens when you win 2 of these. Different but similar. Okay, so let's talk about something that you won this week and you never won before, Player of the Year. How is that different, similar? What does that feel like this weekend to win that?
I don't know yet. I definitely had assumed Simon will win it, somehow because Simon doesn't lose much either. But so I will ask him also how it feels as well because I don't know yet.
So this weekend, you've become the Kaibude Player of the Year, the World Champion. I think we got somebody else coming in. More teammates from Handshake coming in here. I think we, inarguably now, the best active team. You can give them a shout out. Buddy, this is your time to shine. You can say whatever you want to, whoever you want to right now. Take it. Yes,
Yeah, well, I would like to thank, well, thank you.
No.
I would like to thank everyone cheering for me. I would like to thank, again, my teammates, my friends, all the people that came to say hi this weekend, send me a card, whatever, also as well, all the Spanish community, muchas gracias. Everyone that supported me ever, and every friend I have met along the way, they always have a part of me, and I have a part of them. And of course, my family, back there at home. Simon doesn't get late as usually. Hello. And yeah, so thanks a lot. Also, a special thanks to Anthony Lee because his support's always been like incredible since the beginning of my career. And yeah, now I'm happy, but I mostly feel thankful. So thanks, gracias, muchas gracias, thanks.
The winner of World Championship 30, Javier Domínguez!
Congratulations once again to our new world champion, Javier Domínguez. A two-timer, the second person in Magic the Gathering history to ever do it, and our new Player of the Year. An absolutely incredible season and an incredible feat for Javier. Well, as we wrap things up here in Vegas, we thank the thousands upon thousands of Magic fans who joined us this weekend, both in person and online, to celebrate the greatest game in the world. Special thanks to all 113 of the World Championship competitors who walked through the doors on Friday, ready to brave the haunted halls of Duskmorn for a chance at glory and immortality. From the thrill of passing left, right, left in Duskmorn Draft, which proved you can play almost anything, to Standard that also proved that so many options are quite literally on the table with an exciting and diverse metagame. After 14 rounds of Swiss and a star-studded top 8, only one player was left standing, and that was none other than Javier Domínguez, a now two-time world champion, only the second person to ever claim that feat, and your 2024 Player of the Year. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I hope everyone who joined us this weekend will take the joy they found here back home to share with every Magic player they meet. Thank you so much for joining us, friends. See you next year for more Magic the Gathering.